Good day, good day. It's a happy day. How you feeling today? I'm very thankful. So, this is a very powerful video today and very impactful for myself. It's called Thankful is Greater Than Depression. And I have to start out by exercising all my rights on this one. I don't want it to be construed as any type of advice, mental health, or otherwise. So, thankful is greater than depression. What does that mean? The power of being thankful destroys or overcomes or shadows depression. It takes a lot at times to generate what it means to be thankful. And especially in America, in our society, in my culture, being thankful isn't something that's typically addressed, talked about, or even thought of. And a lot of times it's easy to see the things that we're not thankful for. We're always talking about what we don't like. Always hear about how people hate it here and all this other stuff. But what we don't talk about a lot of times is being thankful. So, having said all that, with my journey, I had a lot of many years, decade, longer of depression and anxiety. And there was a lot of times where I couldn't leave the house. I wouldn't leave the house. Or I cried before going to work or on the way to work. I was struggling. And I've taken medications, and so I've been through down this road, and it's not, these conversations aren't from a perspective of an individual who is looking on the outside. I'm bringing you this conversation from the inside, bringing it out to everybody who's interested or who this maybe can bring something positive to. So I also like to give a shout out to Dr. Ramakrishna, who, when I was in the hospital, he looked me in the eye and said, this is you. This is what you have to do. I can't do this for you. This is something that you have to generate inside yourself. I'm paraphrasing. But essentially, he told me that I have to make this happen. I have to pull this up. So, one of the main ways to do that is by simplifying your life. And how do you simplify your life? You have to not look at the future. It's so much of depression is looking at the past or looking at the future, and you look at, oh, this happened, it was tough, or this is going to happen and that's going to be tough, and that's when you start getting depressed a lot of times. So what you want to do is simplify. And I've had moments where I had to simplify my life down to each and every step I took. I couldn't think of anything else but the next step I was taking. Sometimes you have to simplify your life just that much, where nothing else exists except for that next step, like literally your foot touching the ground. And while that might sound a little extreme, that's just what it is sometimes. And when you simplify your life and you get rid of all the extra stuff and you get rid of the past, you get rid of the future, then you start to get to what's really going on. And when you really get to what's going on, it's not so bad. And it's actually a beautiful, wonderful experience to be here and to have an opportunity to be yourself and do the things that you're here to do. So, in my journey, I had to fake it. Fake it till I made it. Fake it till you make it. And of course, you're going to be like, what? Fake it till you make it? That's not real. I mean, I'm not telling you to be fake by any means. What I'm saying is sometimes you have to generate the conversation that isn't there. And in order to do that, it might seem fake. You might that's actually how Happy Day became into an existence. I wasn't feeling good, and I'm like, I need to recreate myself. I need to bring something new to myself, bring a different perspective, a different idea. I'm like, it's somebody said, "How you feeling today?" I said, "It's another happy day, just another happy day," and they laughed, and I was like, wow, it brought joy to them, and from that, I realized, wow, I'm trying to create something, and it's much bigger than myself. It's about bringing joy to other people, and so from there, how you feeling today? Oh, it's another happy day. And sometimes I wasn't feeling that, and when I wasn't feeling that, I would have to look inside myself and say, hold on, why isn't it a happy day? Well, my mind is telling me it's not a happy day, but I feel good. The sun's shining, and so then I came upon being thankful and really finding reasons to be appreciative of what's going on in your life. And there might be some things going on. You might have some difficulties, you might have some struggles, you might have, things aren't looking so good right now. Find the things that are positive, that are good. And you don't have to number them, you just have to bring them up, rise them from the dead and keep them there. And the longer you keep these thankful things there, you'll watch it grow. And as you grow, as your thankfulness grows, you'll find your depression is going to begin to shrink and then disappear. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And for years, I used to just tell myself that. I was struggling, and I had no answers. I didn't have any, very little guidance. But I would tell myself, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a better day coming. And you have to know that. You have to not just believe it, you have to know that. And when you know that, then answers start coming to you, and you have to go out and look for those answers. You can't let the answers all come to you. You have to go out and find your own answers. You have to go out and find what works for you. You have to find your own journey. For some people, the prescriptions work. For me, they did not. So I had to go out and find something that worked for myself. And so one of the things you have to do is go inside, find what's really going on. A lot of times there are things that are bouncing around your head that just aren't true. And you have to confront that. You have to acknowledge that. You have to look at that and say, hey, that's not even what's going on. It's not even real. And that might sound a little weird too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this video is not going to sound, as kosher as what most things sound like when you hear in typical society. But again, this is a taboo subject. This is depression. This is something that most people aren't even allowed to touch because of the fact that there's a lot of emotions going on that are hard to deal with, and that we can't really quantify. So a big part of that is going inside and seeing what's going on with yourself, and really being present to some of the thoughts that are going on that aren't helping you. And a lot of times there's a ton of thoughts out there that's bouncing around in your head and not helping you. And you have to get out. You have to kick them thoughts out. You have to say, hey, thanks for sharing. You gotta go. And when you start being aware of those thoughts and blocking them out and stopping them from coming into, allowing them to marinate inside of you, because it's not just one thought that comes and it's you letting it in and then letting it bounce around, and it repeats itself, and you go right into that emotion, and you fall right into it, and you allow it to repeat itself, and the more it repeats itself, the more emotional you get. I've been there. And I have those thoughts that come now, and I look at them and I say, hey, thanks for sharing, bro, but Nope. Nope. You can't leave your baggage here. You have no home here. Keep it moving. Keep it pushing. Bounce. Kick rocks. So another thing is it's okay to be sad. That's another thing that we don't talk about in our culture. It's okay to be sad. Now, there's boundaries to everything, and you want to have balance. There's the balance of sadness and joy. Everybody's going to have some sadness. And when you go into that sadness, it's typical to feel like, oh, I'm here again. Oh, this is terrible. And it's just all bad. And this is where you want to it's okay to be sad at times. And just to allow just that little bit to come into your life and say, hey, it doesn't mean that I have to be depressed. It doesn't mean that I have to think worse thoughts. And when you start accepting some of your sadness and just allow it to be a little bit, give it a little room to breathe. I mean, you're human, and being human is being sad. Having anger, having sadness, having joy, having all the other things all the emotions that you can feel. That's part of being human, and embrace that. That's part of being human. So, another thing is finding a support system where sometimes your family or your friends, people in your life, they don't really know how deep it is, how big it really, you can you try to drop some hints, but most people don't really get how deep that rabbit hole goes with how you really feel. So it's really important to find a support system. Now, that might be somebody in your family, it might be some of your friends. I'm not saying that those are excluded. It's also many people online who are talking about positive things. So you block out all the other negative stuff. And a lot of times we're watching, violent movies, we're listening to bad, negative music, hurtful music. We're listening to, negative people. We're watching, and all this stuff goes right into you. And you have all these things that you're allowing to come into your space because your body is your space. And when you allow these negative movies, negative TV shows, these negative Facebook posts and all this other stuff, when you let all this stuff into your space, then that magnifies, it heightens, and it can get inside of you. And until you build up that muscle to be able to block that stuff out, to be able to see it and let it be and not really get caught up in it, which takes some time and practice, then it's best just to completely block it out. And one of my teachers used to say, just block it out, just ignore it. And I took heed to that. You see a car accident, block it out, ignore it. And don't even look at it. Don't even look at the negative stuff. You see somebody fighting, don't even look at it. Keep moving. You see something that you don't like, don't look at it. Keep moving. And I'm not saying, ignore everything, but sometimes you have to kind of put yourself in a bubble to rebuild yourself. And this is a great opportunity to rebuild yourself. And that's what this is about. This is an opportunity for you to be the individual, the person that you were born to be. Now, you might not believe in destiny, you might not believe in fate, you might not believe in God. That's fine. You don't necessarily have to believe in those things. But there is a reason. You have special talents. You have unique things about yourself. What are those things? Are you harnessing those things? Are you bringing those things into the world? Or are you stopping yourself from doing these things? And in my case, there's a lot of things I wanted to do. I always wanted to motivate. I always wanted to speak, but I was depressed. How are you going to be a motivational speaker when you're depressed? But what I realized is my journey was to go through the depression hands on, head on, and full fledged. And through that experience, I can now share from a deep, intimate perspective as opposed to what I read in some books or what I heard on some video. And so you have a journey as well. You have goals that are inside of you that have been waiting to get out. Start tapping into those goals. Start pulling those things out, because that is also a big reason why you don't feel so good. It's because you're not going into what makes you great, because you are great. And that's not a lie. And I had a debate with somebody. I said, everybody is a genius at something. And they were like, no, what about such and such? I said they do something a lot better than everybody else. So find that thing that you're genius at. Find that thing that you're better at than everybody else. Find that thing that's been calling you. You might not be better than everybody else. Am I better than everybody else? Probably not. I don't know. But I'm doing what I feel is my calling. I'm feeling is right for myself. And so you have to do the same thing, because it's out there, and you got this. This is yours. So, I think that's pretty much everything I kind of wanted to go over. So I'm thankful that you took the time to watch this video, and there are so many opportunities to find being thankful in your life. And when I wake up, thank you. Thank you for waking me up. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to have another opportunity to do right. I'm thankful for another opportunity to get it together, because I do not have it all together. I'm happy, but do I have it all together? Is my life perfect? No. But I'm thankful and I'm happy. I feel good, and I extend that to you. And this is in your life: happiness, joy, grace. And so I appreciate you. Shalom, namaste, salam, peace.